Good morning, gents. Today we are yield farming and we're going to demo the profitability on yield farming on a long period of time. So I've made the mistake of yield farming for about a month. I start a wallet and then I cash out about $10,000, $5,000 in profits per month. And I've been doing that pretty much for a year. However, in April, I didn't do anything. I took a little loss and I said, okay, I'll leave it for this month. I've made enough, etc. But what we're going to focus on is the mistakes I made where I didn't stay in pools. I should have kept them all open and I would have been huge amounts of profits. And this is where the compound effect actually takes place. And I cut it off before then. So I'm going to give you a little demo and maybe we can use one of my existing pools. It might be easier. So we've got a portfolio here, I believe, once I refresh, of about $4,000, something like that. And yeah, we've got 4,100, we've got a Solana USDC, and we've got a Bitcoin. So what I'm doing is I'm just grabbing this yield and I'm dropping it into this pool here, growing it so I can hopefully have about $1,000 in Bitcoin USDC, and I'll just yield it across together. Now, what happens over time, this pool will eventually start to yield off some good amounts. So this is currently 22 cents and this is currently about 34 cents. So we're making about $35 per day. On the weekend, it's about half of that because the yield is much lower, the volume is much lower. So long term, what does this look like? Where am I actually going to make the money? How much can I actually make? Now, if you go into yield farming and you don't have a time horizon, which I didn't, and I'm just making this video to show the mistakes I made. If you have a time horizon and you say, okay, in 3 months, I expect Solana just to hold above $100. I think that's pretty realistic. If we all said, I think Solana is not going to go below $100 in the next 3 months, potentially it could be much higher rather than lower. But that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to yield farm within that period. And what I mean by that is you're just going to end up rebalancing or adjusting your range so you can have it at about $100 to $200. Now we can use another example of this and we can just say for now, let's say we want $100 to $200 and I'm going to put in $5,000, let's say. So we're putting in roughly a total of $5,000. Yeah. So our yield is all the way from 100 to 200. And I think in the next 3 months, it'll probably be within this range, if not higher. That's my personal prediction. So we're going to earn 0.2% per day. Now you can adjust it if you want to increase your yields. So 0.2. So we're going to take our interest calculator and we're just going to work out how much 0.2 will actually get us. And we're going to compound pretty much daily. And I'm just going to put 0 and 12 months. And our deposit is, yeah, we're not going to deposit monthly. So we're going to work out, we're going to earn $300 per month in that, roughly speaking. And then when it gets to the 10th month, we can even use just a quarterly horizon. So we're going to make $1,000 roughly if we compound every day and the price stays the same. If the price goes up, we make much more, of course. So in 3 months, we're going to make $1,000. Now, is that worth the risk? Probably not. But we've done such a large range. If we done like a 20% range, it would be slightly more. If we done, I usually do say 15 is a good range. We could go, and we just doubled our yield. So in theory, our profits should be way higher. So you must look at the calculations beforehand, and you must say, how long am I going to yield farm for, ideally? So here we're up in 3 months, $2,300. I expect it'll be a lot more than that because you'll accumulate a lot more Solana. It'll go up in price. If it drops down in this period, you actually make a lot more yield farming than actually shown here, by the way. Because if the price drops and Solana, you'll yield farm. If Solana drops to here, you'll accumulate a lot more Solana. Up here, you'll accumulate a lot more dollars. But down here, you'll accumulate a lot more Solana because the price is lower for the volume. And then when it eventually does bounce back up, you'll have a lot more Solana. So you get the price appreciation. And at some point, it will bounce up. So you get a lot more than this. And if we look off a measly $5,000, we end up with a balance of 20,000. If you can supposedly hold for a year, I wouldn't say yield farming is particularly good for a year unless we're at the very bottom. And then it's pretty safe to do. I think you'd rather better off staking than that. So if you went in, just to put it in perspective, with about $25,000, And at some point, you can get that. And if you were to get a 1% a day, you can see the growth is exponential. You're earning 16,000 per month. And to be honest, 25k isn't a lot. I've gone in farms with 60k, and I'm like, it's a bit nerve-wracking, to be honest, because when you see that $4,000 a day loss, it's painful. However, if you're going to hang in, it's the quickest way to be a millionaire, actually. And well, we have to put this up to about 40,000. I think 40,000 is the key. And you can become a millionaire off $40,000. And you might say, I ain't got $40,000, or I don't want to put $40,000, and 1% is not sustainable. It actually is in yield farming. I typically aim for 0.5% to 1% on a long term portfolio. Don't forget, we're doing silly ranges. If you adjust the range, if you went in with a 7%, you're getting 1% a day, or even a 6%. Now 6% is quite a big drop. It's 50k to 70k. We're at 60k now. So you get 10% price, $10 each way, each time. So you can move your ranges and you can get 1% a day. If you're planning on a long-term horizon, yeah, then you're going to get a really, really good rate. And those little percentages, 1.1, really add up to the portfolio, especially long term. And if you want to look on a silly little horizon like 24 months, which I don't know who's boring enough to do that, you can see the exponential growth. Of course, this is realistic, but no one's really gonna Solana's not gonna perform well enough over a 2 year period for you to accumulate that much. But I could be wrong. You might say I want to start off with, um, I might want to put $200 and let's see how it actually pans out. It's a lot of management. So $200 will make you 500,000 in 2 years, yield farming, and probably a lot more. If you start at the bottom, you can definitely get those sort of amounts. And it's really ridiculous how quickly it goes up. And that's something I want to do. I did post a screenshot on my Telegram where I did say I had one Solana and it turned into $7,000. So you can turn $200 into 500,000 if possible, if you want to try. But getting the 1% and keeping it sustainable is pretty difficult. I'm not going to lie. And also, it's possible, but it's not realistic. So you kind of want to say like, I'm going to start with $500 and I'm going to try and aim for 0.5%. I think that's a bit more realistic. And you can start to say, build up strategies around it, move on from there. If you want to get in touch with me, I'll be happy to give you some ideas of what to do. But for now, look, take this yield, drop it into here, buy more pools, and extend as you go. I'm looking to grow this to about $10,000 and then start to allocate to other pools. And then I'm going to start to buy some meme coins where you really make the money. It's a long process. But yield farming is something you need to be doing in the background to accumulate more Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever you want. I wish you all the best and take care.